Hi, I'm Mr. Gilles R. Savoie. I'll show you how to optimize Taekwondo kicking techniques. First, we'll see the three most common ways to deliver a bichegi. From your fighting stance, you lift the rear leg, you turn your hips, as you're in line to the target, then you snap. You lift, turn, snap. This technique is fairly slow because some of your body's weight is being transferred at the beginning of the movement. All this weight needs to turn. This slows you down. As you snap your kick, the only power comes from the kicking leg. No hip power is being transferred. The second way to do it, you lift the rear leg, you turn your hips. As you start to be near to the target, then you snap. You turn, and you snap. So this way some of the hip movement is being transferred, since the hip is still in motion while you're kicking. But it's still slow because some of your body weight is being transferred at the beginning of the movement. All this weight still needs to turn. Here is the third way how to deliver a bichegi technique. We've seen that when we transfer our body's weight at the beginning of the movement, that our speed is really slow. So here, from a fighting stance, we bring the knee in straight line toward the target. Then we snap. The knee in, then we snap. This is fast, but it's weak because no hip power is being transferred to the kicking leg. Now let's see how this works. Let's say this rod is your hips. And the weight here is your center of gravity. So if this is your turning point, which from a fighting stance would be your front leg, this is the rear leg, we want to throw the bichegi. So we need to move this toward the target, and let's say the target is here. So we need to start from this point to go to this point as fast as we can. Okay, so it does something like this. Okay. So you see it start to start and start to stop. So I don't have much control, but still this is like a hammer. The weight here gives us power. If we turn it this way, so if my center of gravity is closer to the supporting leg, a lot faster, a lot more control, but no power here. Now the physics tells us that if you want to turn an object fast, it has to turn on its center of gravity. What we're doing here, our center of gravity is here, and we're turning from this point. This slows us down quite a lot. And as we're doing this, we're able to turn faster because we're putting our center of gravity closer to the supporting leg. But still, we're turning from that supporting leg, not from the center of gravity. So if we could have a movement that will help us to turn from this point instead of this point, it will be quite fast. Furthermore, if I'd be able to have a force here to help this turn, and a force here to help this turn, apply to this part and apply to this part a lot faster. And if we're able to have these two forces, and as the hip is close to the target, we transfer that weight here and still have these two forces to hit, a lot more power. This movement is what I developed that I call propel hip motion, followed by the toggle hip motion. Before talking about the hip propel movement, we'll see what is the toggle hip movement. In the toggle hip movement, from a fighting stance, let's say my center of gravity is here. It falls around here on the floor. So from that point, I will turn both hips. So this hip needs to turn this way. So I'm forcing this hip toward this way, so I'm applying this force here. At the same time, I'm applying a force here. So as you see, if I push here, my hip turns. If I push here, still my hip turns. From this center of gravity, which we've learned a while ago, is the fastest way to be able to turn the hips, which will deliver much more power. I'm using both hips here. Now I need to transfer my weight forward. What I can do is to pull this hip forward, or to push this one. So as this hip turns this way, I'm using both forces, I'm able to push forward. So I'm able to transfer the weight where I want to kick as my hips are turning at the last moment. Until that time, my leg is down, ready to deliver the bichegi technique. As I'm using both power, I'm starting to rotate the leg, the bichegi. At the last time, my weight starts to transfer. So all the hip power is being transferred to the kicking leg. A lot more power, a lot of control because I'm able to toggle back the hips, back and forth. Now we'll see what the hip propel movement is. From a fighting stance, we'll have to use the real hip and bring it forward toward the target as fast as we can. But not at the target, near the target, which is in a straight line. As it goes forward, the center of gravity moves in a straight line all the time. As I stop my center of gravity around midpoint, the hips isn't toward the target but near. Then I'm able to toggle both hips, which will bring the leg to the target. So I'm moving straight line, then I toggle both hips. Power, control, speed.